that. Maybe if they have something to say or they don't, they go, oh, congratulations on your college team. Girls don't do that to each other.
You should.
Oh, my God, Marnie, I haven't seen you forever.
Well, he played for the team, Jenna. I don't do that to Dusty. When Dusty, like, hey, Purdue, like, no, he played for the team.
That makes more sense.
Great.
That makes more sense now. I should have done that in the commercial break. Anyway, congratulations on your team. That's
Thank you, Jenna.
amazing. Let's talk Thursday Night Football.
Got a laugh out of our guy. Go ahead.
Bears and Cowboys, both teams needing a win to make a playoff push. Last night, Canny, Chicago pushed just a little bit harder. Mitch Trubisky looked good, counting for 4 total touchdowns, 300 yards of offense. It was too much for the Dallas Cowboys as they once again came up short against a top 10 defense. Boy, Jerry Jones does not look happy. They've now dropped 7 of their last 10 after starting that season 3-0. Former Cowboy Troy Aikman weighed in on the current Cowboys and where this leaves their playoff hopes.
I don't know how you come back from this. I really don't, Joe. I mean, for the last 2 weeks, we've heard from them that they were going to get it going. They had a chance at home against the Buffalo Bills to finally beat a team with a winning record. That didn't happen. They got embarrassed in that game. They come here against a team that had a lot to prove but was struggling in a lot of areas, and it was the same old story. And so, yes, even though we knew before this game kicked off that it didn't matter if they lost, they were still going to be in contention. I don't know how you sell that if you're Jason Garrett or Jerry Jones or anyone. When you have a performance like that to say, hey, but we're still alive. I mean, hey, we'll go play this week against the Rams, and it's all right out in front of us. And I don't think the players hear that. I wouldn't hear it if I were them. And this is on the players as much as it is on the coaches. They've got to be better. But I'm not sure I'd even talk to the team this week. I'd just say, let's just go play next week, and you guys figure it out. But the talk is over, and it has been over for a while.
Well, that's quite the dramatic approach to your players, who, by the way, still first place in the NFC East, albeit just a half game. Canny, time for everyone to admit that the Cowboys just aren't a good football team right now?
No, they're not a good football team right now. We try to ask ourselves, what is it that has this team in the position that they're in right now? Why are they underachieving for the most part this entire year? After winning 3 straight, they've lost 7 of the last 10. So everybody's trying to figure out, with a team that had championship aspirations coming into the year, what is it about this team that's just not clicking? Now, you can point to the play calling, and there are some things after last night's game that leave you scratching your head, like the fact that you gave the ball to Ezekiel Elliott 8 times on the first drive, and you marched 17 plays for 75 yards, and you punched it in for a touchdown. Then he only has 11 carries for the rest of the game. Like, that's the part of it I don't understand. Going to Olawale on that last possession before the first half and not being able to convert in that situation and having to settle for a long field goal, which you missed. Of course. That's a question mark right there. Why did you have that play call? But ultimately, it's about this team being able to play complementary football. And their players are not going out there and they're not executing. And Dak Prescott talked about it after the game. Like, the fact that you were able to force a turnover on that first Bears possession, and then you end up going 3 and out as an offense. To me, it's a completely different game if your offense is able to get some points off of that turnover on their second possession. If you're talking about having a double-digit lead, all of a sudden, the pressure shifts all the way back to Mitch Trubisky and all the question marks we've had about him for the majority of the season. But that wasn't the case. You ended up punting the football, and then the Chicago Bears ended up reaching Dallas Cowboys territory 6 out of their first 7 drives, and they're putting up a lot of points. So I just feel like there were a lot of missed opportunities in the game, and the players need to absorb some of the blame on why this team hasn't performed up to expectations.
They absolutely do. The talent is there. Like, is it a good football team? It's a talented football team. When you look at the year that Dak is having, a career year, he's putting up statistically, he's having his strongest year yet. Ezekiel Elliott still up there, top 5 running back. Amari Cooper still up there, top 5 wide receiver. Production-wise, defense is performing. So what is it? What is missing from this team? We use the term clutch a lot. It's a cliched term. This team is not clutch. They do not know how to respond to adversity once a team comes back at them. Once they do struggle a little bit, once they can't convert off that opening interception and get points out of it, they have to punt it back. Chicago comes right back there. For whatever reason, and that's why you hear the players perplexed. They don't know the answer either. Again, Troy Aikman said, hey, I wouldn't even know what to say to him. I think you have to do whatever you can to try to get this team to breathe a little bit. Like, imagine if, hey, this was my, last time on this show, and you guys said, if you give one incorrect stat, or if you say one thing, or you make one wrong prediction, you're never coming back on the show. I would be paranoid. I'd be like, oh man, I'm not going to talk very much. Yeah, you have to loosen this team up somewhat. And I don't know how you do that if you're Jason Garrett, but at some point this team just needs to breathe. You can see and feel the tension when you're watching them play.
But here's the problem that I have with, not problem, but my disagreement with what Troy said is you can't be a just mediocre talent and lead the league in yards. You just can't. You can't be mediocre talent and lead the league in yards and be a top 10 defense. The only way those two things can be true and you have 6 wins is if either you are a turnover machine, like the Tampa Bay, I think, is top 5 in yards, but Jameis, I mean, trick or treat Jameis. And Dak has turned the ball over more than he did his rookie year, but he hasn't been a turnover machine. You don't look at the Cowboys and they're just constantly 2 and 3 turnover games. Or in the critical moments, you're settling for 3 instead of 7. In the critical moments of understanding, stealing a possession before the half, making sure the opposition doesn't get a possession before the half, those types of situational coaching things, you are just incompetent, which is why so much of the blame to me does go on Garrett rather than the players, because I look at another team in the league with 6 wins, the Indianapolis Colts. They have the 19th ranked offense. They have the 13th ranked defense. So a far worse offense, worse defense, way worse kicking situation. I know Maher's missed a bunch lately. Vinatieri tried to retire in week 2, and they should have let him in Indy. But Frank Reich is an excellent coach. I think one of the best young or first relatively new head coaches we have in the league. The Bears, who have 7 wins now on the year because they beat you. Where are they? Oh, they have a defense that's 11th, yours is 10th, and they have an offense that's 29th, and they've had the same level of success as you. That's coaching, which is, so I'm not going to buy into the narrative, we just overrated the Cowboys' talent. They are just not they're not achieving up to the level of their talent, and we've seen that now for 10 straight weeks.
But Kenny, here's the thing, and you said this, Danny, earlier, is that you wish the team would really relax a little, get out of their own heads. And maybe Jason Garrett should understand that and take them out and get them to just relax a little bit. He's pressing, too. We saw that when he went 4th down on his own 20. You don't think he has the same pressure from Jerry Jones that this team seemingly has from the outside world? It's really hard. And they're all healthy for the most part. This is when they should be hitting their stride. If it doesn't fall on the head coach because he has so much pressure on him, what do you do to get these players out of their own heads?
Well, here's the thing. I don't necessarily feel like you got to get these guys to relax. I mean, you got to get these guys to perform. It's a production-oriented business. It's what have you done for me lately? I don't believe that the Cowboys somehow, some way are just a less talented team this year when they have relatively the same cast of characters. Yes. And we've seen the control because in the Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott era of Cowboys football, they've had a winning record. I mean, they have not had a 500 record. They haven't had a losing season. They've had a winning record all 3 of those years. So when I'm looking at this team sitting below 500 in December, I have to look at the head coach and say, that's a big part of it. I mean, coaching is getting guys to do what they don't want to do so they can become what they want to become. Clearly, the Dallas Cowboys, there's something missing when they're out there on the football field. The drop passes, the missed tackles, the miscues in terms of the adjustments between the quarterback and the receivers. Like, all of those things can be attributed to the coach.
And Dan, but how do you attribute drop passes? You know, how do you contribute that, like, not executing to the coach? Like, if the ball is delivered and a guy drops it, or if a guy's open and Dak short hops it to him, like Zeke on Thanksgiving Day, how does that fall on Jason Garrett? Like, to me, I think...
Well, who's the guy that's there day in, day out watching the guys practice? Who's the guy that's setting the standard in terms of what we're going to be as a football team? That starts with the head coach.
Right.
I mean, Wade Phillips used to say it all the time. He says, either you're coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. Either way, the mistakes are on me. That's what it is on game day. So I think that Jason Garrett has to be the guy that you look out when this team is not disciplined, when this team is not executing, when there seem to be mental lapses. I mean, yes, the players obviously have a part in it, but that comes down to the head coach being able to set the agenda for the club. And Jason Garrett has not done a very good job of doing that the entire year.
The whole organization is a dumpster fire. It really, from Jerry having a press conference every week, putting this up for grabs, what are we going to do with Jason Garrett, to the players, like all of it. And that's why you have this combination of this team, which is severely underperforming and losing 3 games in a row.
And anyone that thought the Cowboys were going to be a drastically different team this Thursday against a team with a great defense, question marks at quarterback, that is around 500 or above, than they were last Thursday against a team with an excellent defense, question marks at quarterback, around 500 or above, was kidding themselves. Like, and this was, and Troy said it during the broadcast, this is a carbon, he almost sounded disgusted when he said it. This is a carbon copy of Thanksgiving, and it was. A great opening drive. You take the lead. You're up 7-0. You have a chance to take control of the game, and then you get punched back, and you fall.